Are speaking out about their payments to President Trump's personal attorney, Michael Cohen. Cohen promised access and insight into the Trump administration after the 2016 election. The revelations raise new questions about a payment Cohen made to adult film star Stormy Daniels and what President Trump knew about it. Paula Reed has more.
In a stunning message to employees, AT&T CEO Randall Stephenson said it was a big mistake to hire President Trump's personal attorney, Michael Cohen. Our company has been in the headlines for all the wrong reasons these last few days, and our reputation has been damaged, he said. Novartis, a pharmaceutical company, has also said that hiring Cohen was a mistake.
Any response?
Both companies said Cohen approached them about offering access and insight into the Trump administration. AT&T paid Cohen $600,000 to advise on its proposed merger with Time Warner and other regulatory matters. Novartis paid him $1.2 million. The payments were made to the same accounts that were used to direct $130,000 to adult film star Stormy Daniels, not to speak about her alleged affair with the president.
There's nothing normal about it.
Nick Allard, a longtime government relations lawyer and dean of the Brooklyn Law School, says it's virtually unheard of for a lawyer to peddle information on his client.
There's a fundamental conflict. It's like John Gotti's lawyer selling information to the other four families. It just not only isn't done, but it's a fundamental conflict, and it's a very dangerous one.
Today, Press Secretary Sarah Sanders denied Cohen's consulting work swayed the president, citing his opposition to the AT&T merger.
So certainly the president has not been influenced by any, or his administration influenced by any outside special interest.
And Paula Reed joins me now from Washington. Paula, how common is it for someone in Cohen's position to be paid for consulting like this?
Well, it's not unusual for anyone with ties to government officials to be paid as a consultant to capitalize on their relationships. But there are many unusual things about this particular consulting gig. First of all, this was the president's personal attorney. And usually your attorney, any conversation you have with them, it's protected by attorney-client privilege. So for your attorney to then turn around and sell all the information, all the insight that he or she has gleaned, that's extremely unusual. This was also very secretive, and we have no idea really what Cohen delivered for these companies in exchange for all this money. And of course, the most unusual thing of all is the fact that his payments went into the same account that was used to pay an adult film star to keep quiet about her alleged affair with the president. So while some people try to say, look, this is just lobbying or consulting as usual, it's highly unusual.
And speaking of that payment, Rudy Giuliani said the president repaid Cohen for the hush money he paid Stormy Daniels. Could that implicate President Trump, since Michael Cohen, as you say, used the same account for his consulting firm?
At this point, there's no indication that the president knew that all of this consulting money was going into this account. And clearly, there are conflicting facts about how much the president actually knew about where the money to pay Stormy Daniels came from. So at this point, there's no indication that this will implicate the president. But as we know, the special counsel Robert Mueller, he's interviewed a lot of the people who paid Cohen, and this is currently the subject of a federal investigation. Michael Cohen is under investigation for his business practices. So while right now there's no indication the president would be in any legal jeopardy, Mr. Cohen appears to be so.
And Paula, one of the companies that paid Cohen is linked to a Russian billionaire with ties to the Kremlin. The special counsel has interviewed that man. Do we know if that is significant to the Russia investigation at this point?
Well, many of these interviews, we know the special counsel has reached out to AT&T, the pharmaceutical company Novartis, and as well as that Russian billionaire, the oligarch you just mentioned. But all of that happened quite a while ago. And in the interim, the special counsel has handed off the Michael Cohen investigation to a U.S. attorney in New York. So what we can glean from that is that it's unlikely that Robert Mueller really thinks that Michael Cohen really had any part in any collusion between the Trump campaign and Russia during the 2016 election. It appears that, again, it may be significant for Mr. Cohen, but in the context of the Russia investigation, it appears that they didn't find enough evidence to really pursue that as part of the special counsel probe.
And Paula, now Cohen is firing back at Stormy Daniels' attorney, Michael Avenatti, over releasing these bank transactions. Can you remind us how this is connected to the government raids on Cohen's home and office last month?
Well, Cohen and Avenatti have been going back and forth since Avenatti sued. He represents Stormy Daniels, and he has sued Cohen to try to invalidate the non-disclosure agreement that he negotiated with Stormy Daniels. So they have a legal battle in California. But while that's been going on, Mr. Avenatti has repeatedly released very damaging information about Mr. Cohen. In fact, the only reason we know about these payments to AT&T and the money from the company connected to the oligarch is because of information Mr. Avenatti has released. So at this point, Mr. Cohen has a really difficult time pushing back because he is the subject of a criminal investigation. He can't go on TV every hour like Mr. Avenatti does. But earlier this week, his attorneys did file something arguing that Avenatti is engaged in a campaign against him, to prejudice him, to discredit him. And they're asking a judge in New York not to allow Mr. Avenatti to be involved at all in his criminal case. You mentioned that warrant. Right now, there is another legal dispute in New York over whether or not the warrant to search Mr. Cohen's home and offices, whether or not that was valid. Mr. Avenatti wants to be a part of that case. He wants to intervene because his client is part of the evidence that was collected during those raids. And Michael Cohen's lawyer is saying, no way, Mr. Avenatti is too prejudiced, with clearly a lot of bad blood. He should not be allowed to be involved in this separate criminal investigation. We'll see what the judge says, but clearly the two men have been going back and forth for quite a while now.
The battle of the attorneys. Paula Reed in Washington, thank you.